Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on Candy Codes, WBS, Element, SMM, and Variables. My name is Fadi Kubersi. I'm a senior consultant here at the CCS office in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. It is my pleasure to present this webinar to you. Today, I will be showing you how to use some of Candy's coding functionalities. We will commence with the basics in order to ensure that everyone is on a fairly similar level of understanding as we go through to some of the more advanced functionality. Due to the large number of people logged into this webinar, we will not be able to answer any questions during the session. However, please submit your questions with the provided function on screen. At the end of the webinar, we will collect these questions and send the answers to everyone that registered to this webinar via email. Please note that the webinar will be recorded and you will receive a link to download it later on. There is a webinar once a month on various Candy topics. Should you not be able to attend the webinar at the given time frame, then still please register for the webinar, as this will entitle you to receive a recorded copy to your email. Let's get started. I shall present to you the following topics in Candy: WBS Codes, Element Codes, SMM Codes, Global Variables, and Global Parameters. We will be covering the following agenda: Work Breakdown Structure, or WBS, divisions, creating WBS codes, importing from file, creating the WBS document, and allocating WBS to bill items. Also, we cover grouping, filtering, sorting, and reporting. Element codes, creating element codes, importing and or updating codes, creating element document, allocating codes to bill item, element cost analysis documents. In addition, gross floor area, job parameters definition, SMM or standard method of measure, SMM library, master selection, copying SMM items, creating SMM headings. Under global variable definition, importing and updating variables, worksheet usage, and then we will introduce global parameters. Let's get started with our first topic. Work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure in Candy has been specifically designed to allow contractors to match their client WBS. WBS in Candy is made up to 10 divisions. Each can have 8 digits alphanumeric. Users can use any of these divisions as they like, and the codes can be between 1 to 8 characters per division. Let us see how this operates in Candy. Open your project. Under Estimating tab, and under Definition and Settings, the blue hammer, you have Section 8, Work Breakdown Structure. It contains 10 divisions. Each division heading can be changed, so you have full control on the column heading. I have called mine Site, Area, Sub-Area, Activity, and Responsibility. I have only used 5 divisions in this example. However, you can use up to 10 divisions if required. Next to the column heading, the code lengths, you can specify what the length of the code for that particular division is. Then all the codes you define in that division must follow the same length. The second thing about the code is that the system will not allow duplicate code. For example, in this division, 01 can only be there once. And the next division, or the area in my case, can have another 01, but it cannot be on the same division. Once you have defined the codes, now we need to allocate them to our BOQ. Click OK to close the definition and settings, and go to your document manager, your estimating document manager, or the blue book. I have already created my own view, standard bill of quantity with WBS. And basically, all I have done is that I have taken the standard bill of quantity view, copied it, renamed it, and altered its layout. Just right-click on your copied document, and select Customize Document. I have added the WBS columns for the first 5 divisions. So on screen now, you will see that the column number 18.3 all the way down to 18.7 are the ones I have added for my document. In addition, I've added column 18.1, which will show you the combined WBS code on screen. Click OK. Back to the document manager, then select the document 1.1.1. You will notice now that the work breakdown structure columns, they have the same headings that I have defined in my definition and settings: site, area, sub-area, activity, responsibility, and WBS codes. To allocate WBS, it's similar to any code allocation in Candy. You can simply double-click on the required field and select the appropriate code. You can also select the range of items using the Shift button on your keyboard. Right-click and select Apply Division Code. Same menu will appear. Select your required WBS. As you apply these codes, the WBS will build up in the combined WBS column, which is the gray column on the right-hand side. Once all the codes are allocated, now you can apply your filter, your grouping, your sorting, or even printing the BOQ with the allocation of WBS structure. I will be going to perform a group by feature. Simply right-click on any of the WBS columns and select Group By. A Group By menu will appear. On the left side are all the available columns that you may apply for the grouping. I will, in my case, select Division 5, Division 2, and Division 3. Click OK to apply the sort. What you will see now that I have sorted the bill in a particular responsibility area. You may apply any group by according to your needs. In a similar way, you can also apply sorting and filtering. The other use of WBS goes to cost control. Candy has the ability, once you use cost control with WBS, to perform that cost control with WBS task and cost code. That only works if you are able to capture your actual cost under WBS task and cost. Let's look to some reporting. Under your menu in estimating, go to your printer, your report manager. You can note that I have already created a report and named it BOQ carry forward, brought forward with WBS. In a similar way as the document, I have customized the report to add the required WBS view. So right-click on your report and select Customized Report. Go to your Columns section. Add and remove columns. Under column layout, I have added the column 18.1, WBS code all divisions. Once you're okay with the customization and adding your required columns, click OK, and OK again to close the customization. Now, you may print preview your report. Once we print the report and preview, you will see the WBS column is now added. You can now print the BOQ with the client WBS structure. As you have seen, the WBS in Candy is very flexible and can be applied to any kind of WBS structure. Our next topic, element codes. The purpose of cost analysis is to provide data that allow comparison to be made between the costs of achieving various building function in a project with those of achieving equivalent function in other projects. Element code is the analysis of the cost of a building in terms of its element. An element for cost analysis purposes is defined as a major physical part of a building that fulfills a specific function or functions irrespective of its design, specification, or construction. The list of elements, however, is a compromise between this definition and what is considered practical. The cost analysis allows for various degrees of detail related to the design process. Broad costs for building types are needed during the initial period, and progressively more detail is required as the design is developed. The elemental costs are related to square meter of gross internal floor area, and also to a parameter more closely identifiable with the element's function, the element unit quantity. To achieve an elemental cost analysis, each bill item is allocated an elemental cost code. The elemental cost codes are a hierarchy of codes structured to provide the most effective cost planning data for your organization. There are bodies such as the Building Cost Information Service, BCIS, which have a structured coding system. For the purpose of this webinar, BCIS element cost coding has been used. However, you may adapt to code any coding structure or even one specifically designed by yourself. On Candy, back to our project, similar to any code definition, in order to define a new structure, go to your definition and settings blue hammer. Under section 9, cost planning, you will find section 9.1, element definitions. The code can be up to 10 characters in length. The example on the screen is using 2 levels of coding, but the system caters for up to 9 levels, although no more than 2 is recommended. If you already have your own preset list on Excel, you can import it by going to Tools, Import and Update, Import element codes from file. Notice that you have also the option to import and update from your master. The element cost coding should be structured to provide the most effective cost planning data for your organization. The sub-element cost codes are the lowest level. They are the ones which are allocated to the BOQ, as we will see in the next step. Now that the codes are set, close your definition and settings, go to your document manager, duplicate and customize document 1.1 standard bill of quantity in order to include element code. I have created my own copy, 1.1.2 standard bill of quantities element code. Right-click on the document and customize. I have added columns 17.17 till 17.20. element code, description, unit, and quantity conversion factor. Click on OK. Select the document to open it. Now you may allocate an element code for each bill item, simply by double-clicking on the code cell and selecting the appropriate code from the list. You may also select multiple rows using the Shift button, right-click, and select Allocate Element Codes. The factor column is used to determine the quantity of a sub-element by taking the bill quantity and multiplying by the factor of each item. The cost per unit of a sub-element is the product of the total amount divided by the factored quantity. In my case, for a cubic meter excavation and a base excavation of a cubic meter, my factor is 1. Once all the BOQ items has been allocated to an element code, you can start generating cost view of your project according to those defined element codes. To do so, from your menu, select Finalizations, Job Analysis 2. Element cost reports are under Section 2. If they are not created on your system, go to New Document, Element Analysis, and create the one you need. I have already created the ones we need for this webinar. First document we're going to see is document 2.1, Elements Split Amount Summary. Select. This document will show you the split amount by resource type of your entire BOQ, categorized by element that you have created and allocated. The columns showing you the resource type with a bill split amount, and you may change the view by right-click on any documents to show the split rates. You can revert back, right-click on the column, show split amount. Second column, under Finalization, Job Analysis 2. The second document we will see is 2.2, Elements Resource Analysis. This document will summarize your resources by element, where you can see final resource quantity for each allocated element along with average rate and amount. Back to Finalization, Job Analysis 2. Document 2.3, Element Resource Analysis with Parameters. Note, these documents can be customized to requirement, and similar reports are available from the Report Manager. The document on screen analyzes the elemental rate per unit as well as the cost per gross floor area, as well as the sub-element rate per unit. The gross floor area rate as below is one of the 10 functional quantities that can be used to compare the rate of an element. On the screen, you can see a TFA of 29,000, as this is the value I have set for this job. Gross floor area is defined in the estimating definition and settings under the blue hammer, section 9.2, project parameters. To change the gross floor area quantity, simply enter the new value in the quantity column. Our next topic, SMM codes. Standard method of measure, or SMM. SMM coding is a structured system. The SMM code is an alternative code to the price code. It is used to compile bill of quantity with headings and subheading in a structured format. Candy has 4 libraries available. SMM codes are allocated to price code on the price code document. The SMM code can be a maximum of 20 characters. To begin the process, you must first have a standard method of measurement library installed as a job in Candy. In my case, I have added the job CCS NRM library. Contact your supervisor or CCS to obtain the current version of these libraries, or alternatively, you can compile your own library. It is preferable to create an SMM bill layout if you are regularly going to create bill of quantities. Go to your job, Document Manager, create and customize document standard bill of quantities SMM code. Right-click, customize. You need to include column 17.5 bill code and 8.4 SMM code standard method of measure. Once you've done customizing, click OK. Now for creating the SMM ordered bill, you need to follow these steps where items are to be ordered strictly in accordance with the method of measurement. Create the new job, as we have done in my case. I've called mine demo job SMM code, which is open on the screen. Set the master to be one of the libraries referred. As you can see, I have set the master to CCS NRM library job that I have added in my datapad. In the new job, you need to create a structured heading with the appropriate level. This is my demo job. I have created a level 2, lowest level, with a bill code of 100 for northbound platform, bill code of 2000 for southbound platform, and 3000 for level crossing. The lowest level of the heading must have a bill code attached to it. Otherwise, all the subsequent steps will not work. Next step, you need to open your master bill of quantity. It is easier to open the master with the same layout as the bill being created. In order to open it in parallel, go to your document manager, holding the Shift key on your keyboard and selecting the SMM layout standard bill of quantity SMM code. For easier with both documents at the same time, use the size to top and bottom have buttons on your document, which are on the top right corner. In this case, I will size to top have my master BOQ, and for the current job, size to bottom have. The document on the top shows the SMM library condensed to the lower level of display. In order to collapse it to match the same levels as our job, do this by holding the Shift and Control key on your keyboard, then press spacebar. This will roll up the document to its highest level. Open one of the sections until the required bill items are displayed. Just gonna open section 5. 5, 6. Excavation. All you need to do is drag and drop the items from the library of the job bill in the usual candy manner. It does not matter in which order you are dropping the relevant section, as the bill item will be reordered once all the items are added. Drag and drop. I will take another section. Note that on the screen, the items are not in a particular order. Not only there are items from section 34, 15, 05, and 36, but they are out of sequence. Also, note that none of the method of measurement headings have been added at this point. Once you have done dragging and dropping your required items, in order to sort the bill in accordance with the SMM and to import the SMM heading, on your job standard bill of quantity, select the SMM code column, right-click, and select Insert SMM Headings. This brings up the dialog box for your confirmation. Choose Yes, and your bill will be reordered with the headings inserted in the correct position. This process can be repeated as often as necessary. New items can be added to the new bill and reordered at any time. If the SMM library is priced, the library pricing code will also be added to the new job, and depending on your settings, it will be immediately priced or auto-priced when required. Our next topic for today, global variables. Variables are used in worksheet calculation and in macro quantity formula. There are two types of variables in Candy: local variables and global variables. In this worksheet, you can notice that a variable, PROD, has been defined on the first line, simply by writing the exact letters between square brackets on the far left side of that row. It has been given a value of 30 and commented as meter cube productivity per day. On the placing gang formula, the daily rate has been divided by the same wording structure, PROD, between brackets, and the worksheet retrieved the value from the defined variable on the first line in order to do the needed calculation. This is called a local variable, as the given value of 30 is only retrievable and usable for calculation locally in this worksheet only. If the same value is needed to be used in multiple worksheets, it will have to be defined within all related worksheets, and this process is time-consuming and loses the purpose of using variables in order to speed up pricing process. Hence, we introduce to you global variables to solve this issue. Most of you are familiar with the local variable, where in particular worksheet you can define that variable value and can be used in entire worksheet. However, when it comes to values that are used in multiple worksheets, global variables come in handy. By definition, any numeric parameter that affects the job as a whole, such as the job duration, can be defined as a global variable. These are used in worksheets and for calculating quantities in macros. Going to Candy. Also under Estimating tab, and similar to all other codes, in order to define, you need to go to the definition and settings. Global variables are under section 2.4. The first column, the code, is an 8-character alphanumeric code. Description column is a 30-character name. A unit column, 8-character field. A value of 10-digit numbers. And a formula cell of 40 characters field, where you can enter an optional formula to calculate the value of the global variable net value. Global variables are copied from the master when job is created. You may also import global variable at any stage from a file, master, or even update them from a selected master. To do so, go to Tools, Import globals from file, import globals from master, or update globals from master. There is a parameter mark limit where only up to 700 global variables per job can be defined. And the screen will show you the number of variables defined in the bottom row. Note that in my case, I have used 11 out of 700. Global variable codes from letter A to letter H are reserved for local use on macro worksheets. Ratio of a circle to its circle's circumference to its diameter, or pi, and density of steel, or SD, are also reserved as system constant with a value of 3.141593 for pi and 7,850 for SD. Now on my screen you can see that I have already defined some global variable codes. From those I have created waste factor for foundations at a value of 7.5%, waste 2 or waste factor for walls with a value of 2%, waste 3 waste factor for ground slab with a value of 5. In this example, we will address the most common waste percentage usage needed in a construction project, and that falls under concrete item. We're considering the case where the estimator uses different value for each type of activity, which is the example of the value created in this job. Close the definition and settings, open the BOQ. Now that various waste values have been defined as a global variable, estimators can, inside their worksheet, use the same defined code in their formula, typed also within square brackets. Example, C20 concrete and foundation. This worksheet uses the factor waste 1, C25 concrete and walls, using the waste factor 2, C25 concrete and ground slab is using the waste 3 variable. In case you need to check the value of any global variable, on any empty line at the far left side, you can type in the same global variable, or in my case, waste 3 between brackets. Notice that once I press enter on my keyboard, Candy will automatically add the equal sign sorry for that, question mark, square bracket, waste 3. Once I press enter, Candy will automatically add the equal sign and retrieve the value of that factor. Another method of quickly checking the value is by simply pointing your mouse cursor to the variable inside your calculation. Candy will show you the value in the top, on top of it, in a yellow box. And this is simply how you can define and use your global variables in your worksheet. Our last topic for today, global parameters. Global parameters are a powerful variant of global variables. Global parameters can be given a different value for each price code. A global parameter is a standard global variable but has the added ability to have individual values per price code. On the price code document, the column net global variables display all the global parameters horizontally and the specific value assigned to each price code. Andy, back to the definition and settings. Also under 2.4 global variables, I have created a global variable called waste, W-A-S-T-E, and I've given it a value of 5%. this will be considered as its default value. In order to set this global variable to be a parameter, highlight the selected factor, use the Set as Global Parameter button. Once you select Set as Global Parameter, Candy will add the word parameter under the last column, which is also called parameter. Now in my case, I have two parameters, waste and work. Considering if you want to clear the parameter and unset that variable from a parameter, you may use the button Clear Parameter, and in this case, work variable is only used as a variable, not as a parameter. Once you're set, click OK to close the definition and settings. And let's call up the price code list, or our letter P. I have customized this document, and to customize it, you may go to View, Add Remove Columns. I have added the column 2.12 net global parameters from the column selector. Click on OK. All global variables that are set as parameter will appear as columns at the right end of the document with a column heading referring to that defined code. In our case, you can see a net parameter with a heading of waste. Any price code worksheet that uses the global variable waste, WASTE, in their formula will show a red dot next to the associated cell under the waste parameter column. In this case, we can spot price code C341A, concrete 20 megapascal for foundations, C3525A, concrete 25 MPa for bases, and concrete 25 MPa for surface beds. In my example, a waste of 7.5% will be assigned to foundations and to bases. While the last one, surface beds, was left without any specific value. When the worksheet is calculated, it will use 7.5% waste factor for the first two mentioned price code, whereas the last one will use the original default value of 5% that I have set in my definition and settings for the variable WASTE, waste. Changing a global parameter on the price code list recalculates the rate for the price code. So if you have the rate column on your document, in my case, you can immediately see the effect of changing a parameter. Example, I'll clear the value for foundations concrete 25 MPa. The rate for this item is 6 to 1.23. Once I've set my waste factor to 7.5, now the waste factor is the rate is 634.86. This brings us to the end of this webinar. Thank you for your time, and I trust that you have now a greater insight into Candy's some of the coding functionalities. Please remember to email your local CCS office if you want to know more about these codes. We will keep you informed of the next webinar, and remember, if you are unable to join on the selected time, then please still register, as you will receive the recording, which you can then watch on your own time. Enjoy the rest of your day till the next webinar, and goodbye for now.